As the presentation suggests, we're going to be talking about something really, really personal to both of us, which is trust and transparency. I think redefining how the future relationship could look between agencies, clients, and publishers. Only goal, to be interesting enough over 20 minutes to keep you off your cell phones before lunch. We're going to do our best to achieve it. So I'm Jared, CEO of Acadia. It's an independent media agency. Forget about me. I've written 2 books that at least my mom has read, and that feels good. They're both about trust and transparency and just topics that I think deserve our attention. But Ryan?
Yeah, so they put the water guy before lunch instead of the Hooters or the the chicken guy. So Ryan Sinclair, I have spent my marketing career in restaurant and hospitality. The last year and a half, I've been with Primo Brands. Thank you, Josh, for the shout out this morning. We just completed a merger with Blue Triton Brands. Primo Water is North America's leading water branded beverage organization right now, delivering to about tens of thousands of commercial and residential customers on a weekly basis. And I lead the direct-to-consumer marketing team there for that delivery side of the business. So excited to talk about what the last year and a half has looked like for me at Primo and how a partnership with Acadia and Jared kind of came to life.
So just to set it up really quick, it's like if you think about how our industry seems to want to talk about transparency, everybody wants to talk about what's above the waterline, right? MFAs and bots and viewability. My supposition is that we choose to talk about the things that are easy to figure out or that we could throw technology at. But I think the things that are more awkward, more important, and more interesting to talk about are things below the waterline, and that's money flow, how money flows and how money corrupts, and or ownership, who owns what, who should own what. And just to frame it, 3, I don't know, like semi-controversial things to talk about that Ryan and I at least see eye to eye on, but I don't think the industry necessarily does. The first odd thing to say as an agency owner, truly think that every client should own their own data. And there's no ... Like it's your data. It shouldn't be trapped by agencies to make it so it's hard to fire them. Number 2, I actually believe that clients should own their own relationships with publishers. We shouldn't be in their way. That is, it's not very endearing to be territorial. I also think that, and Ryan will talk a lot about this should include fiscal responsibility as well, and that's sort of the controversial piece we'll talk about. And then the third is that transparency needs to go from a buzzword to like a closed loophole where we're not talking about, oh, it's okay to be dealing with principal-based buying. It's okay if there are rebates. It's okay if an agency allows their 27-year-old media supervisors to buy, iPads for $1,000 on a publisher's dime and never treat that publisher with respect, right? Like we're either going to stand for this as an industry or not. So we're going to get grilled by Doug and talk about what I think will be some interesting topics.
Okay, so gentlemen, I want to understand this a little bit better. The traditional agency commission model, it's existed for a very long time. It's the de facto contract. So why is right now the appropriate time to consider changing it, to shake things up? And how, I mean, you've given kind of like the layout of the 3 things that you really want to touch on, but give a little more texture to it. How does this change across who owns data and what does that actually tactically mean? When you say you're changing the fiscal ownership, what does that mean? Like, bring us into the fold of what you're talking about.
Want me to start and then I'll just frame what we're doing. I'll let Ryan talk about the impact. So look, everyone in this room knows there's lots of pricing models. That's what's, I'd even argue, a little less interesting. What is slightly more interesting of what we're doing is the thesis is that we've agreed on some fee that they pay us, and we do a really good job, hopefully, for that. But then the money flow is owned by the client. We have Ryan and Primo. They actually pay Google or Meta or publisher X. We help steward that, of course. We help the buying. We even help pay attention to invoices. But the idea is that they own that fiscal relationship. They own that responsibility. And so I love Ryan to reflect on like how that's different and what behavior changes that creates, because it's different.
Yeah, and I think it starts with challenges that we face on our businesses on a regular basis, right? So I joined the organization and we were struggling to deliver on our success metrics. We were struggling to understand the impact of the activity that we were putting out in the marketplace, and really just kind of facing this challenge. Started the process to go evaluate how we were doing business. As we started that process, the realization came that there's a challenge as you want to make that transition, and speed is critical. So getting to a place where we could identify a partner where the relationship could be built on this trust and collaboration that has a healthy level of tension tied to it was a key piece for us. So it's about transparency, but transparency is tied to accountability. So everybody's been there, right? You're not hitting your target. Your CFO is having the conversation with you around what are you doing to change that situation, and you're struggling as a client to work with your partners to really dig deep and understand the challenges. This transparency is really about accountability on the client side, and us owning the accountability on where the spend is going, how we're monitoring the performance of what's happening with that spend, and honestly collaborating with our partner to develop the right strategies so we can deliver on the performance. It sounds simple. It was not simple. It was challenging, right? To explain to leadership. I think Jen and Christy talked about it in their presentation. That everybody is a marketer, and you've got to educate those. Everyone has access to ChatGPT, to AI, to go research whatever they want to learn about, right? So that therefore makes everyone a marketer. I had to go educate my finance leaders and my accounting team on why do we want to do this? Why do we want to be accountable for paying these bills on a monthly basis? Because it gives us better transparency on what's going on. It gives us access to performance. So I think it's transparency, but it's connected to accountability.
Why do casinos work? Besides the fact that they're drinks, you get handed these chips. It's really abstract. So yeah, I'll wager $100. That's just a $100 chip. But if you're at your local poker game, you're not grabbing a $100 bill. So all of a sudden, Ryan and his team has to actually look at the invoices and struggle with, what am I spending? And does this make sense? I just think the media industrial agency complex has started to get so territorial because of anxiety that we're robbing our partners of their accountability and their opportunity out of fear. And it's not good.
It's interesting as I hear you kind of talk about the shift in education within your own organization, Ryan. It almost sounds like you're saying hey, now that I'm paying my own bills, I'm actually becoming a smarter marketer and having to understand my business a little bit better and my media a little bit better. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, Doug, so my marketing background is not a media background. I started in field, went into brand, worked in loyalty for some really great brands. I need the experts on the media side to help me make better strategic decisions for my organization. So the benefit to us in where we sit as an organization right now is we can make decisions faster, right? So again, put it into your environment. You're coming to the close of a period. You're coming to the close of a quarter. You know where you need to deliver those results. How quickly can you make that change? Are you on top of it on a regular basis so that you know what can happen? I think that impact is tied to the speed at which we can monitor that performance and then work with our partners that are experts in that space to help make changes to the plans we need to.
Got it. That's really interesting. Now, I think, though, with this change in structure, certainly this would put more of the resourcing off of Jared's team and onto yours. So does the shifting in that resourcing change anything for you? Does it create bottlenecks, or how are you thinking through that mechanic?
Just the one thing I'll share, and then rather Ryan answer from his perspective, is we don't just leave it to him, right? We feel very accountable to see what's the spend true up, and does it match what we see in the engines, and how does it compare to last month? We don't just say peace out. But I'll defer to Ryan. It certainly has staffing implications, sure.
Yeah, so I would say from the collaboration perspective in the benefit of this, we still have the level of support and the team and the resources on the agency side that were there before we made this change, right? The difference for us is I now have on my team the connectivity to those resources in a different way. So it's, yes, you got to hire with the right skill set in your organization. You have to have the right people in those roles. But it wasn't an ad. It was actually an unlock for the marketing team, because it gave us the ability to focus more on strategic planning and the activity that we needed to build plans that could deliver results in partnership with the same type of resources and support. So even though there's hands-on keyboard and tools that we have access to, right, we're working with our partner to execute all of that.
Got it. Now, you talked a lot about accountability at the start, so I want to explore that a little bit more. How has the tenor of the relationship changed as you move into this new dynamic? What's the difference maker as you think about your partnership with Jared? And Jared, how do you think about your partnership with Ryan differently?
Yeah, I'll answer that, and then I'd like your perspective on where we're at so far. So much of it is about what has happened since I was able to join dinner last night here at my first MediaPost event. It's about networking and establishing relationships and getting a connection with someone that you want to do business with because you have the same core values and you have the same desire to be successful. So a lot of it was about finding the right group to have a relationship and a partnership with, but also Jared knows that, and the entire team on the media side know that we have access to our accounts and we have the ability to do what we need to do if that relationship does not go in the direction that we want it to go, right? It's a healthy tension. It also creates some great dialogue on those status calls that are happening on a regular basis, on the monthly check-ins that I have with leadership on the team. It creates a really good dialogue that's just going to make us better going forward.
My two ads, just to, let's say, two strange things maybe. The first is, it should be really easy for Ryan and Primo to fire us if we deserve to be fired. And I shouldn't invent cockeyed friction through contractual horseshit that gets in the way of hopefully us earning our seat, or if we cease to earn our seat, they having the option to find an agency who will be more productive. There should be no trappings, no hidden codes, no hidden data, no hostage data. It just has to be that simple. And so why? Okay, let me make a strange jump. Who's the best doctor that you all know? There's a trick question. It's the doctor you share the most with about your health and your history and your family and your feelings, because the doctor's only as good as their ability to understand you. Well, last night, Ryan and I, after a couple of drinks, got to talk about good things and bad things about our partnership. And I believe that the only reason he feels comfortable to share good and bad is because there is this real trust and not only half an iceberg. And so that's how I think it relates. I can't prove it, but that's my thought.
So to an extent, you're really talking about a leveling of the relationship.
Yeah.
Got it. So I think where I want to end our conversation today is just understanding, is this a dynamic that is unique to your relationship between Acadia and Primo Water? Is this something that works across all brands, all clients, all structures and formats, or is this really just bespoke to this?
Mind if I start? I'm glad you asked this, because hyperbole is for the birds. So the short answer is we do this with 100% of our clients. However, this doesn't necessarily work for everyone. For example, we have some incredible guests in the room from Mattel and Hasbro, and I don't know any of them. I respect what they're doing. But if I think about what they're doing with their agency, and it's global, and the amount of media, and the amount of moving parts, and the amount of regions, and the amount of states, and the amount of publishers, I very much respect that they have to go their own way, and that what I'm talking about may not work. And that's why I don't feel like we're up here being preachy, rather just saying there's a very large industry, and it's not all the Fortune 5,000. There's a lot of mid-sized and smaller clients, and I think clients just should feel courageous to own more of their data, own more of their fiscal responsibility, and never feel hostage from a client. But I absolutely make the exception for there's just some clients that are so large and have a special relationship with a multinational agency that I get that too. Not just trying to sound nice, like I truly appreciate it.
Ryan, anything to add?
No, I think it's spot on. I think there's tremendous opportunity for this to be an unlock for a lot of organizations. The situation should present itself in a lot of those, to a lot of those companies. So,
all right. Well, thank you both. I appreciate you sharing a very, very raw insight into a new way of working. We'll open it up now to some questions.
Anyone have questions? No pressure, no pressure. Here we go. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
Daniel with Broadsign. Jared, you had mentioned that you leave a lot of the buying, all of that. I'll just speak specific. DV360 or Trade Desk. Are you doing the initial planning? Your team is deciding where they're going to be running, what assets. You're then reaching out to the publishers, the media owners. You're getting Acadia PMPs and deals, and then you're surfacing it to their seat for purchase. Is that kind of in the realm of
I'll use your question, I'll answer it, but even more broadly. In 90% of the ways, we're still acting as a rather traditional agency, taking on all the responsibility from planning and budgeting and buying and PMPs, like anything, fill in the blank. I'm not up here advocating for the destruction of that. It's a yes and. I'm advocating that agencies don't box out clients because of their own anxiety. I'm advocating that agencies don't box out publishers because of their own territorial anxiety. And I'm advocating that clients make it their duty to follow the money and feel aware, because that'll make our industry better. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's one back here. Hold on one sec. That was the shortest hand wave ever. How was I going to see that? I just happened to look at you. Oh, you're great.
Hi, Lauren from Kepler Group. Do you feel like it limits your media mix because of the number of platforms or partners that you want to manage, or for especially on the client side? Like, do you reach a threshold of saying, okay, this is too much for us to?
not at all. Just to be direct on that, it doesn't. I think we're a little over a year into this relationship with Acadia. And we've changed the trend that existed 18 months ago, and we're continuing to evolve and expand what our mix looks like. So it hasn't limited anything that we were able to do at this point.
I mean, first of all, it's a great answer. Where I'll close is something has to change, right? The media industrial complex has a trust rating that's just a bit above an insurance agent right now, and I think there's better. So, like, to your question, do we have this perfect? Maybe not. Just really, really, really dedicating this final act to trying to find new ways to restore trust and just to undo some rituals that are not great. It's a great question. It's one we're working our way through, and I get it. It's a good question.
All right. Thank you, Jared and Ryan. Much appreciated.